on Healthy Living, I'm interviewing Jeanne Schumacher, and she has earned her doctorate in science and education and has taught chemistry, biology, and environmental science for over 30 years. That's fantastic. She's a firm believer in walking the walk and is committed to inspiring people to change their health destiny through a whole food, plant-based diet lifestyle, as well as reducing toxins in their life. So welcome, Jeanne, and thank you so much for watching, everyone. So let's just say how we met. It was so funny because I love watching things with Dr. Lyle and Dr. McDougall. And when you watch YouTube, very often what happens is they'll say, oh, you like this, watch this. And I was directed to Jeanne's channel, and I saw a wonderful interview with Dr. McDougall and Dr. Lyle. And I remember posting, and then next thing I know, she interviewed me. And I thought, well, she's got some interesting things to say, so I'll interview her. Hey, Donna. Hey, Shirley. We've got a lot of nice people. Colleen is on. It goes so fast, Christy. So we got a lot of people watching. They're saying it sounds great. So thanks you guys for being here. So why don't you, I know we have a lot of questions about the stuff you're really interested, because I know you're a science nerd and you teach science and you're really interested in toxins. But first tell people about what you do on your Facebook page, because that to me is really exciting as well.
Well, with my partner in crime, Nancy Norby Matthews, we can call ourselves the Starch Queen of Hearts. And and we have a website, starchqueens.net, and we're doing 10-day challenges based upon Dr. McDougall's maximum weight loss. So we're trying to help people to lose weight, as you guys do. So in the ultimate weight loss. So we do 10-day challenges. We start them on the first Monday of the month and then the third Monday, and we go for 10 days. Then we have a couple of days break. Not to say that break from, go out and have a cheeseburger or something, but, you might have a little bit higher caloric density food. And then we go back to 10 days, on. And so it's very exciting. And then we started so Nancy and I started separating up, the states, the United States. East of the Mississippi goes my way, west goes her way. And then it was getting too much. So we need to expand out. So we started doing these plant-based your towns. So we're up to about 25 towns now. So,
that's pretty cool. If somebody wants to get involved with this, what is your website or Facebook page where they can learn more about it?
Starchqueens.net. And then Nancy is plant-based Chico, California, and I'm plant-based Westchester, New York.
That's pretty cool. That's amazing. So how did you get involved with learning about toxins in personal care products? Because, I know a lot of people are vegan or plant-based, and maybe we buy something that has the symbol that it's vegan, but I never really gave much thought about toxins in my skincare or makeup, actually, until I met you. And thanks a lot, because now I got to have another
something else to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. I've been teaching.
What's that? Amy wants to know if you have a Facebook page. And yes, and it's Plant-Based Westchester.
Yes. Right?
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope. But I've been teaching. I've been teaching for so long, and for over 30 years, for chemistry, environmental science, and the toxins. I've been very, very aware of them for a long time. And I started doing projects with my students. Instead of, in lieu of a midterm exam for winter term, I have the students do a project where they had to do an analysis of 3 personal care products, and look at it from the chemistry definition. Is it inorganic, organic, and then look at the chemicals inside of them and see just what they're doing to us. And the kids were horrified. And they start to realize, there's no regulation in the personal care product industry. So it's kind of a wild, wild west out there.
Why do you think there's no regulation, though? Because, there's so much regulation in so much. Do you think someday there will be regulation in this?
I hope so. I really do. I would love to see it happen. But I think the personal care business industry is very big, and they don't want it. If you look at, for example, Europe and compare Europe, if we market and send stuff to Europe, they have to change the formula, because Europe has very, very different standards, and they have what's called the precautionary principle. And you have to prove that it's not going to be toxic to you before you can sell over there. Here, we can sell anything we want. And I kind of guess I grew up naive, thinking that, if it's something on a shelf, that it's been blessed by somebody along the way to say this is okay for humans. And no, they can put anything they want into the products, and they do. And there's no regulation. There's, it's kind of like, ooh, that one dropped dead. I guess we better not use that anymore. So that's about it, in terms of the regulations.
most of these products we're using on our hair or our skin, and the skin is the largest organ in the body.
Right.
And if people are so concerned about what they're putting in their mouth, maybe we need to also start thinking about what we're putting on our skin.
Well, I'm very big on that because I lecture all around the area, and I teach about what I call the trifecta approach, because you have to change not only the food, but also the drink. I mean, you can't, become whole food plant-based and then go have soda, so you got to change the food, you have to change the drink, and you also have to change the environmental toxins. And I have to tell you, I've been in the classroom for over 30 years, and I've seen such changes in our children. It's incredible. I mean, from kids having ADD to ADHD to having cognitive development. And, the way I teach chemistry is very different than I did 25 years ago, because the kids today, from where I teach, they would just not be able to handle the way I taught 25 years ago. I mean, the academic level was much, much higher, back then. Now, today, they really have a tough time understanding and grasping concepts. And I've seen this change. And genetically, we haven't changed that, we haven't changed in just a couple generations. So I can only conclude that it's to our environment that's having the impact. And
what are some of the things that, if we're using things with toxins, do you know what are some of the costs to our, what can happen? Like diseases?
Well, for example, like parabens. Parabens are bioaccumulative. I mean, you're hearing a big thing about it, and thank goodness, because parabens are, for example, a chemical family that, you have methylparaben, butylparaben, propylparaben. Doesn't matter. They're all bad. Anything with the ending paraben on it is pretty toxic, and it's bioaccumulative, meaning that it's going to accumulate in your body over the years. And the cosmetic industry is like, well, it's not that much, and it's insignificant. Okay, well, we're doing this over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So, parabens are going to come in, and they're going to have some impact. Your body thinks it's estrogen. It's not, but your body thinks it is. And so, your body, it's going to have some impact on your reproductive system in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, that's a huge problem. And then we start to get all these chemicals in us. And they even, like, for example, the Environmental Working Group did a study with the Red Cross, and they started looking at the umbilical cords of newborn babies. And these newborn babies were having a phenomenal, close to 200 toxins already. I mean, the kid isn't even an hour old, and they've already got all these toxins in them. Some of them are carcinogenic, some of them are neurotoxins, some can cause, brain damage down the road. And when we get all these chemicals in our body, we get this chemical and this chemical together. We don't know. We're like walking chemical experiments, because none of this has been tested upon, for long term, and to see what's going to happen when you get to a point where you start to see expressions. So
that's really scary. I think about my grandmother. She died at about age 86, and she never put anything on her body. I mean, occasionally she would wear red lipstick. She used ivory soap. I'm not saying that's good, but literally this woman only bathed in ivory soap and used Shalimar perfume her whole life and red lipstick occasionally. And I mean, she had the most beautiful skin I've ever seen, actually, from not doing anything to it.
Right. Right. No, I mean, literally, it's 26 seconds for you to put anything on your body. It's in your bloodstream in 26 seconds, literally.
Right. I have a couple of questions. Billy wants to know if Vaseline has parabens, and Colleen wants to know if there's a list of companies that have cosmetics without toxins.
There is not so much a list, but I'm going to talk about the EWG in a minute. Going back to Vaseline, Vaseline is a petroleum product. You want to stay away from petroleum products, things like that.
We need Vaseline. Well, like, let's say our nose is dry or something. What do you use instead of Vaseline?
Well, I've been working with a company called Pure Haven Essentials. This company was started, I love the story. She was started by a girl who was 15 years old, who had read the Environmental Working Group. They did a report on, it's called a body burden test, and they did it on teenagers. They looked at the blood of teenagers and found a huge amount of toxins. And she was just horrified by this. And she's like, okay, I'm going to buy my way out of this and find products that weren't toxic. Well, this was a while ago, and she couldn't find them. Now, you might find one here or there, but not a whole company that the whole mission or, focus was this. but she started this company at 15, and it's kind of had some bumps and hiccups along the way, but so here it is today, and the company is going strong. And the whole philosophy, the whole mission of the company is to have products that are toxic free. I mean, everything from soup to.
You sent me this.
Oh my God, the Boo Boo stick is like
stick,
probably
I amazing. I don't know if you can see, but I actually burned myself.
Okay.
I mean, it works so fast. I don't even know if you can see. I burned myself this morning.
I can hardly see it.
And it really hurt. And immediately I put this on. And even though I have a little pink dot, it doesn't hurt anymore. So thank you.
Yep. Oh my God. And I keep it because I'm, I cook too. Not as good as you, but, but I, as I'm cooking and I'm making a lot of the cooking videos, like on Dr. McDougall's website, that was my personal way.
Tell them about, you made the most, those are very creative. Tell them about those wonderful videos you have on drmcdougall.com.
Well, that was my humble way of saying thank you to him, because he changed my life. He's my mentor, and one of them. I mean, one of many, But and someday we'll meet face to face. I can't wait for that day. But he's my mentor. So my humble way of saying thank you to him is I started making videos of recipes to help other people, because I think cooking has become a lost art. So, all the videos that are on his website, if you go under education, then recipes, and then featured videos, those are all mine.
So, beautiful. The production is beautiful. Hey,
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. It was a learning curve.
Misty has two questions for you. She wanted to know if you could talk about kids with ADHD, and she wants to know what is in the Boo Boo cream and where can she get it?
Well, you can, going back to, and I've helped people along the way because I'm a wellness coach, and so I've helped people to change, what I call the trifecta, the food, the drink, and then the toxins, and to clean your house out. I mean, and to help people to get these things out of their life, get them out. So I'm sorry, what was the first? Oh, yes, Pure Haven Essentials. It's purehavenessentials.com/Jeanne Schumacher. That's my personal, for me, as a website.
Maybe when we're done with the broadcast, you could go on my Facebook page and just post the link for people.
I can post it, absolutely. But the the Boo Boo stick has, the main ingredient is called arnica. And arnica is really amazing to help with inflammation and pain. And actually, you can't see it right here, but I broke my wrist last summer, and I was up staining. We have a house up on Cape Cod, and I was staining that, and the ladder slid out from under me. And I went down, my wrist was around the ladder, and it crushed my wrist. And I had to go have surgery. I mean, when I do something, I do it right. And so Humpty Dumpty was... we had to put it back together surgically. When I came out, they said, you're going to need to have pain medication. And I'm not a big drug person. And he's like, no, you're going to want this because you're going to be in a phenomenal amount of pain. And I said, I don't want. But anyway, I took one and it messed me up so bad. And I'm like, yeah, I tossed those right down. And I used the Boo Boo stick, and I had a roller ball with essential oils in it. Pure Haven also has a line of essential oils and by the way, we just got USDA certified organic for the whole factory. So I'm just so excited about that. But I use that and a roller ball with lavender and eucalyptus, and between the two of those, that's how I manage my pain. And it was phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. But like the Boo Boo stick, if like I have I sleep, we're getting old when a pillow hurts us sleeping at night. We're getting old. So I'll put some on my neck, and it helps to do that. Going back to the question somebody had about ADHD.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of questions. So Misty, they go so fast. So Misty wanted to know what about the kids with ADHD, because you were saying in your 30 years as a teacher.
We don't. Yeah. Well, for sure. And we don't know what causes a lot of the ADHD. I mean, we're but certainly we've seen things like food, like, for example, the dyes that have been in foods like M&Ms and things like that have there's studies that show relationships between that. But also when you start to get these chemicals in the students, it has an impact on the the neurological development of this. And kids that I have helped transition off, they've changed their thought processes. I mean, I've changed them. I mean, I've changed so many factors. I mean, food, drink, and the toxins. and getting them off of them, I've seen kids able to either decrease their medications, it's with their doctor, not me, that's through their doctors, but they've gone off on some of their medications. And I'm like, this is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Because, when you start to change, you have to change all of these pieces because we're not quite sure what is causing it, but there's something. Once you deal, instead of trying to deal with medication in terms of dealing with the symptoms, you need to find the root cause, and once you get to the root cause of it, then you can see healing taking place. Just as if, you're healing diabetes or, and we're changing the food, from that perspective. So
Carrie wants to know, what suggestions do you have to make chemical-free products affordable for everyone to use instead of traditional personal care products?
There are a lot, and on the environmental ewg.org, there are a lot of recipes and simple things that you can use. Like, for example, I still use a 50-50 solution. I have a big spray bottle, that I bought at Walmart. I have a spray bottle with water in it, half water, half of the cheapest, white vinegar that you can find. And I'll use that to clean like mirror surfaces and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff out there. You don't really need much. We've been marketed to for a long time. But EWG has two main databases, and I want to share with you about these databases because they're incredible resources that everybody should know about. The EWG has what's called the Cosmetic Database, and the Cosmetic Database is not just cosmetics. It's shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste, the gamut. And it rates products on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being the worst, 0, or 1 being the best. Okay, so you can go on there and search your product. They've got about 80,000 products in their database for the personal care products, and you can look it up, and it gives an overview and tells whether it's an endocrine disruptor, whether it's going to be carcinogenic, is it a neurotoxin? Neurotoxins, my God, they're putting neurotoxins in shampoo. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Why? Do you know why they're doing this? And define, okay, please also, because I don't know some of these terms. What is a neurotoxin? What is an endocrine disruptor? And what is a paraben?
Okay, excellent. Well, let's start. So a neurotoxin, toxin being toxic or poisonous to the systems, neuro meaning that you're dealing with, neurons that you're, that's going to be destructive to nerve tissue. Okay, so those are neurotoxins. So if you're looking at, like, for example, I pinch my arm. Okay, that went all the way through up into my brain and said and registered, okay, pain, a little bit of pain, not much. Okay, what are we going to do about this pain? Did your friend pinch you? Okay, so I'm going to hit my friend because that's what kids do in high school, So, and it sends messages back to your muscles to, form a punch and go, boom, stop it. And and something that's a neurotoxin is going to block that, and stop that or have an impact on the flow of those. But if it's in your brain, hello, you're trying to get an idea or memory, and it's stopping the flow of that. So that's a neurotoxin. Something that your endocrine system regulates everything from the time when you're going to start puberty to the time when you have your monthly cycle, to for men, for boys, going through puberty, developing, facial hair, things like that. That's your endocrine system, and that regulates everything in your body. So a lot of these personal care products are endocrine disruptors, and they're phenomenal in terms of what they're doing, and they're all over the place. There's all different kinds. When I go back to like the parabens, when I broke my wrist, I went for therapy. And she comes, this was the first time I go to the therapist, and she comes out, she has this big tub of stuff, and she puts it, clunk on the desk. And I said, what's that? And she said, oh, I'm going to massage your wrist because, after surgery, we got to stretch out the tendons. And I'm like, okay, fine. But with that? And she says, yeah. And I said, just 1 second, please. So I pick it up and I look on the back, and I look, not 1, 3 endocrine disruptors.
Wow.
Not 1, but 3. And I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I just didn't say anything. And I went into my Mary Poppins bag and I pulled out and said, here, we're going to use this. And, and she didn't say anything. I could just see her mentally rolling her eyes. Oh God, I got one of those nutcases. And I didn't say a word. And she starts massaging it, and finally she's like, "Oh, why? What's the problem?" And I said, "Why can't I use this?" And I said, "It's not so much for me." I said, "Because you're massaging my wrist, and I'm only getting the dose once a week, maybe twice a week with therapy, but you're getting this 10 times a day."
Wow.
I even went into my doctor's office, for my annual check under the hood and, wellness visit, because I almost never get sick anymore since I went plant-based and, cleaned out the toxins and things. But I was in there for my wellness. My doctor comes in and starts pumping, soap into her hand. And I said, "Doc?" And I picked it up and I looked at it and I said, you do realize there's a lot of toxins in here."
Wow.
And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, here we go." So I started explaining to her about the toxins that were in the soap, the hand soap that she was using.
Was she using soap or was she using like the Purell?
Not so much a hint. It was a soap product that she was using. And I turned around and I started explaining and I started listing and I said, "This is an endocrine disruptor. This one is, going to cause, and I started going down and listing this stuff. And she was just like, she's like, "Do you have something better?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. No, for sure." So, I mean, there's just so many issues. Like, for example, aluminum. Oh my gosh. Dr. McDougall had a big thing about aluminum on,
Yep.
If you go on his website and
He
search
was
that.
talking about that in one of his webinars recently.
Yeah. No. And aluminum, first of all, we don't need it in our body in any way, shape, or form. And there's two major types of chemicals that our body's exposed to. One is fat soluble, one's water soluble. Okay. And the water soluble, you're going to pee out. You're going to deal with it that way. But the fat soluble is going to go into your fat cells, and it becomes like these toxic dumping grounds. Neil Bernard wrote a really good book on power food for the brain, and he talked about how these things, metals and aluminum, things like that, are becoming and storing in your brain in these beta amyloid plaques. And getting into the beginning of like memories and trying to get ideas back out, which is kind of like what Alzheimer's dementia is. If you're trying to get this memory over here in the beginning, you can go straight in and pull it back out. Great. But then you have this plaque in the middle. And in the beginning, you can go around it and create a new path. But when you get so much plaque in there that you cannot go around it anymore, and you're like, "Well, I can't remember what that was." And eventually you get so much in your brain that you just can't be doing this. So going back to the Skin Deep, it's called the Skin Deep database. You can look up the products and see what's in it. But then on the flip side, you can search for products that are not toxic. So the EWG is a great resource to look in and look for products that aren't going to be toxic. They also have an app called Healthy Living. Now, the Healthy Living app is not, it's great because you can use your cell phone and scan the barcode and it takes you directly to the link. Okay. So once you go into the link, it's not going to give you as good an overview as, say, the EWG website. So it's not as good. So, yeah. But here's the thing. Places are starting to realize that this app is out there. So where I go to get my hair and my poof cut, I only have one guy that cuts it. And so while I was waiting for him, I started looking around. The front part of the store had all these and very expensive products too, shampoo, conditioner, and stuff like that. So I got my phone out, and so I started looking and started searching. And at first one I picked up had the price tag in the barcode. And I'm like, "Oh, somebody put it in there." And I put it back down and I picked up every one I picked up had the price tag in the barcode. They're not stupid. Okay. So me being me, I just took my fingernail and scraped off the price tag. And it was a mission to find something under a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. I couldn't find anything in the whole store that I tried under a 5. It's like, are you kidding me? And the other thing that the EWG has is a database on cleaning products. So these cleaning products are some of the most toxic things. My brother almost died from mixing bleach and ammonia. When you mix those two together, okay, he did the foaming spray cleaner with bleach. He was in a bathroom and the tile stall, shower, and there wasn't a lot of ventilation. So he sprayed that, and it wasn't cleaning fast enough for him. And he went under the sink and grabbed Windex, which has ammonia. Some of the Windex has ammonia, but this one did. And he sprayed it on top, and the two chemicals mixed together when you mix ammonia and bleach, it creates a chemical called chloramine. And the two together, I mean, he just went down like a sack of potatoes. And thank goodness my sister-in-law was home, because she heard him go clunk. I mean, he's like, I don't know, 6'2", 3, something like that, 220. I mean, when he went clunk, she heard it. And she went in and went, she couldn't breathe. And so she grabbed him under the armpits, dragged him out into the hall, closed the door, and that saved his life. So, I mean, there's so many of these toxins that are out there. And I mean, going back to aluminum, I mean, the places they hide it, and it's, I mean, there's aluminum pans, of course. When you're cooking, it goes into the food. So that's really bad. But then you use things like aluminum foil. So like if I'm cooking with aluminum, like I'm making a big lasagna, I'll use parchment paper first and then put the aluminum foil on top of that. But then they hide it in things. Like, for example, buffered aspirin has it. Medicine for diarrhea has it. Or hemorrhoid. A lot of the hemorrhoid things have it. Antiperspirants are a huge one for aluminum. Okay, so if you go and look, get your deodorant out and go look, and one of the first ingredients I'll be willing to bet you is aluminum, but also they hide it. So like my girlfriend comes over and she showed me, she says, I got to show you this, and she came over and her armpit was on fire. I mean, literally, it was so red and almost so raw. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you using? She's like, it's okay. I got it at a natural health food store, so it's going to be good. And I said, let's look at that statement, what you just said. Just because you got it at a health food store, while they have a better grade of stuff, you still have to know. And she held it up, and it was, it was a deodorant, not an antiperspirant. You don't want to use an antiperspirant. You want to let your skin breathe and sweat, because an antiperspirant is like the equivalent of me taking duct tape and putting it over your nose and mouth and going, now breathe.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, not going to happen. So you don't want to clog these pores, especially, areas like underneath your armpit. Those are, places you don't want to clog. You got some major glands going on there. Anyway, so you just want to use a deodorant. And so she had found one, and it was like some kind of salt deodorant. And on the front, they had written no aluminum chlorohydrate. Okay. So she was excited that it didn't have this, and it said no parabens, no aluminum chlorohydrate, blah, 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 blah. And I said to her, you do understand, and I turned around and looked, and I said, you do understand this has aluminum in it? And she said, no, it says right here. I said, no, let's be clear. It says no aluminum chlorohydrate. That's one type of chemical, okay? Let me explain. Salts are ionic compounds. So you have a positive and a negative ion that are joined together that make a salt. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of salts. Okay, fine. So that means there's a lot of different ones that have aluminum in them. Okay, so I turned it around and I said, it says right here, and it said potassium alum, and in parentheses it said mineral salts. And she's like, but that's healthy, right? A salt is good for you. I said, well, arsenic's a salt, and I kind of don't want to use that. But I said, potassium alum is short for potassium aluminum silicate. So, yeah, you're still using aluminum. And she was like horrified. She's like, are you kidding me? She really had been trying to clean out her life, her toxins, and here she was using a product that contained aluminum in it. I mean, and they hide it, like, for example, in food additives. Like, for example, it's in cake mixes, frozen dough, pancake mixes, self-rising flours, processed cheese. Those cheese slices? One slice of cheese can have up to like 50 milligrams of aluminum in it. One slice of those processed cheese.
That's yet another reason to eat whole food plant-based. So
exactly.
The feed goes really fast, so if you don't mind, I don't want to get you behind on the questions.
Okay.
Thea wants to know what toothpaste to use. Maria wants to know what deodorant to use. And Mary wants to know if it's okay to put coconut oil on her skin.
Well, I'm going to direct you for the coconut oil. I'm going to direct you to the EWG, and you can type in individual and specific ingredients, okay? Because off the top of my head, I have I have my own thoughts, but I don't have any, research or backup. So I'm going to direct you to the EWG.org. In terms of, like, for example, I saw some questions fly by about like Tom's and things like that. Tom's has some pretty good products, but again, you have to be what I call an ingredient detective. And I do a lot of like webinars and things like that where I teach people how to become ingredient detectives. But like Tom's, like you might, on one hand, Tom's has a toothpaste with fluoride and has a toothpaste without fluoride. So they're, going towards the marketing of, okay, you want toothpaste with fluoride? Okay, I'll give it to you. Here's a toothpaste without fluoride. So, I have used and found this company, Pure Haven Essentials, and it's kind of like when I go to plant stock, I don't have to carry my food. It's the one time I don't have to worry about food because I carry my food with me 24/7. And when I go to plant stock, I don't have to worry about the food. So I use Pure Haven Essentials, and I don't have to worry about the toxins because I know the whole company, there's nothing in any of these products, I saw something about crystal deodorant, and that's a whole nother piece that goes in, and it talks about the salts. The salts are crystals, okay? And they're using some of these, and I would be betting you on the crystal deodorants that if you look on the back of the crystal deodorant, it's going to say potassium alum, and that's short for potassium aluminum silicate. So,
I don't understand those. Why we even need deodorant? Because I don't use it and I don't stink. Now I've had laser done under my arms, and maybe that's why. But I never stink. So
I rarely use it, because I still have more weight to lose. I still have, I've lost almost 100 pounds, but I still have more to go. So yeah, right. It's been a journey, but I still have some to go, and I've started to do intermittent fasting. From stopping eating it after dinner and then not eating until about lunch the next day. And oh my God, some of the toxins that were coming out of me. I mean, I'm like, normally I don't stink under my armpits, and I don't have a body odor. But all of a sudden, stuff was coming out of me. That 57 Chevy license plate was coming out, and it's like, oh my God, wow. So I started using some of it, but in general, I don't use deodorants. I don't. I mean, unless I'm going out and sweating.
I gotta say, when your diet becomes cleaner, I think a lot of body odor has to do with people eating toxic food like animal products and things like that. I think this might be beyond your area of expertise because I don't think you're a doctor, but
Misty, not a medical doctor anyway.
Right, not a medical doctor. What are your thoughts on estrogen patches, compound creams, DHEA and testosterone cream, and progesterone tablets to balance on hormones? That's beyond my scope. I could tell you.
Well, let me just tell you, I took a course from Dr. Pam Popper.
Oh,
she has got a phenomenal course on women's health. And I so recommend it for all women. I've learned.
Yes, I love her. I'm going to be interviewing her in a couple of weeks. She's phenomenal.
She's amazing. I just can't say enough about her. I mean, and the courses that she's got on her website, she really does have some amazing things. But she talks a lot about that, and she talks about it from beginning to the end, from beginning, from when you're starting. But we're starting to see a lot of changes. And I just did an interview with Dr. Ann Bingham, who is an OBGYN, and she was talking about how children girls are starting, 50% of the girls come online and start their periods between 7 and 8.
That's crazy.
Because of all these estrogens, and things like parabens, which our body interprets as estrogen. So, yeah, I mean, it's having a huge impact. So a lot of these personal care products, you've got to get these things out of your system, especially if you're like dealing with cancer. I've been helping a lot of cancer patients to transition and to change their health destiny because they're not educated. I went to go see Dr. Robert Otzfeld for, through his clinic, through wellness, his wellness program. And I went to go register, and there's like 6, placed people to go and register. And I just went to the next open one. And here's this woman with a bald head and the pin, breast cancer survivor. And I didn't say a word, I just didn't say anything. And we sat down and she started taking my information, and she just looked at me, and all of a sudden she just started. She said, I'm a breast cancer survivor. What do you say? I'm like, oh, wow, okay. You know, and me being me, I'm like, well, have you changed your diet? Have you started to get rid of the toxins out of your life? And da 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 da. And she's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean? No one's talked to you about these things? She's like, no, I haven't received any education like that. And I'm like, wow. So I said, I gave her my card and I said, I'm happy to help you. You know, and when on my way out, I stopped over to give her a hug, and all I could smell from her was the fabric softener on her clothes.
Wow.
It was wafting off of her. And I said, honey, when you go home, those contain volatile organic compounds. Not good, especially with somebody who has, and I see a question that says, can we change our DNA? Oh, absolutely. And a lot of these things can cause changes at the cellular level. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, going back to her, but I said to her, you have to go home and wash your clothes. Absolutely. Wash them with every piece of clothing that you have that has, these fabric softeners on them, and redo them. And yeah.
Just to play devil's advocate, do you think that those of us that really follow a pristine A+ diet like myself is less at risk for the effects? I mean, not that I go out looking for chemicals, but if I'm somewhere, I might wash my hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't carry my...
I mean, and our body's pretty good about helping to get rid of some of these toxins. But the problem is, and it's double fold, because, you've lost your weight. And you have not a lot of fat, but you still have some fat on your body. And in the fat cells, that's going to be a toxic dumping ground, And so, like, for me, as I'm still burning fat and I'm losing weight, oh my God, I can feel these toxins coming out of me. And, I could have like a headache, or one day I'll wake up and I've like pimples all over my face. Are you kidding me? And it's not from eating, because I'm eating pretty pristine. I mean, I have been doing the 10-day challenges. So, I'm on very low caloric density foods. So,
nice.
So there's very little fat in my diet at all. And all of a sudden I'll wake up with these pimples, and it's like, oh yeah, toxins are coming out, so they can express as pimples and, all this kinds of stuff. So yeah, I mean, incredible. So somebody who is, and we have a lot of people that are obese and overweight, and they've got these huge toxic chemical dumps in their fat cells. So yeah.
Wow. So I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. It looks maybe like it's French because it's got, I think, an accent aigu. I wants to know if perfume is toxic.
Oh, perfume. And here's one of the things is they don't list what's in, and they list on the back of it fragrances, because they say, oh, I don't want people to know it's, it's a professional secret. We don't want my competitors to know what's in it. Are you kidding me? I can take that to a, analytical chemist, and they can tell me right away. But here's what they do is they hide things like phthalates, which are endocrine disruptors, big, huge things, a lot of that, and they hide that in the term fragrance. So they say, oh, it's proprietary information. I don't want to give that out. Oh, no. They're hiding a lot of things in that word fragrance. So you really want to use things that are fragrance free for everything, like shampoo or deodorant. Everything you want to make sure is fragrance free, unless like for example, Pure Haven uses essential oils for their fragrances. And so these are 100% USD organic, and then they add that to like the shampoo to give it a scent. That's where they're getting their fragrances. That's it. But a lot of these other products and perfumes and things like that do use that. So it's better if you're going to use perfume, spray it like on your clothing or something like that, so it's not directly on your skin.
That's actually a great idea. I was always taught like you spray it and then you kind of walk into it, so it's sort of not really on your skin.
Yeah, but it's on your skin. So
right, I get it. But what about makeup though? So I love Sandy. Listen, wait, hold on one second. Sandy is here. She's Kathy Fish, and she is so delightful. She writes, don't use perfume, overpriced toxins. So that's hilarious, because a lot of these toxins you're talking about, you can get at the 99-cent store, but not perfume. I love the way you phrase that. So, so what about makeup? Is there any safe makeup to wear?
There are starting to be companies coming out, and I don't know all of them because I didn't go into like being with Pure Haven Essentials to become like to have another job. Are you kidding me? I mean, I teach full time during the day, and then nights and weekends I'm teaching at local community colleges, and then I'm lecturing all over the area. to help people. And then I'm a wellness coach. So I wasn't doing this to find another job. I found the company actually at Plant Stock, because I've been going to Plant Stock now. This was my 5th year going there. And I found that company there, and I said, oh, I found the mother lode right here. So I haven't looked around for other things. So Pure Haven Essentials does have makeup, and that's all that I use. I mean, I just use minimal amounts of makeup to begin with, but that's all I use is what the products that they have, and they keep coming out with more. But there are other companies that are coming out, but you have to be aware, and you have to be ingredient detectives. So start looking. You have to look them up on the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, and you have to look those products up.
Oh boy, it's almost going to be a full-time job now for me, because thank you so much for making my life easier.
No, just buy Pure Haven Essentials and you'll be fine. Right. That's it. That's for me, because I've cleaned out my house. Listen,
hey, it's important. It's not a substitute for getting the food right, but it is important. What do you think about water bottles, though? Like, okay, so is this bad? I hate to show it to you, but this was a gift. Is this bad?
So let me just tell you, it's called Clean Canteen, KL.
Oh yeah, Nancy Norby gave me one. I use that one for hot, but I'm using this one
that comes from Chico, California, which is where Nancy comes from. That's where she lives. And that's her Facebook group is Plant-Based Chico, California. But Clean Canteen is food grade stainless steel, on the inside. And that is great because the lid's inside also, if you look on the lid inside, has stainless steel. So that's great. So that to me is my number one go-to. Those other water bottles, and here's what a lot of them are now saying BPA free, okay? BPA was another chemical that is like an endocrine disruptor. But a lot of these chemicals are a lot of the things, and I was reading from, I think it was the University of Washington, they were releasing a study because they looked at the chemical that they were replacing with BPA, and it's basically chemically almost the same. So technically, legally, you can say it's not BPA, but it's still leaching out. The BPA is what makes those water bottles hard. The phthalates are what make things soft, like the plastics, like a shower curtain or like toys. Oh my gosh, toys for babies. They were literally giving them, it's like toxic lollipops, because babies, 2- and 3-year-old babies were putting these toys with phthalates in them, in their mouths and sucking on them and literally, ingesting huge amounts of phthalates. So I think it was starting in, there's a huge cover, magazine cover from Time talking about the toxic toys. And the town of San Francisco banned it, and then California banned it, and then it's going across the United States to make sure that phthalates are not in children's toys. So they're starting to recognize it. But I think what makes me crazy, and I talk about this in my chemistry class teaching to my students, because you have to make a conscientious decision. Because if you go and look, like, for example, they had this big, huge article from Time about toxic toys. And then 2 weeks later, they had, a rebuttal from, like, I don't know, somebody like from the president of the Chemical Plastic Society or whatever. I forget who it was. But he was saying, oh, my God, there's nothing wrong. We can't prove it. Phthalates are not, causing any issues, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got this person saying it's not harmful to you. And then here's this whole magazine cover saying, and story talking about how toxic it is to you. So that's what makes me crazy. And I teach to my students, you have to be an informed person to be able to make these decisions, that you're a future parent down the road. Are you going to buy toxic toys for your children? Are you going to make sure that they don't contain phthalates? These are things that you have to be aware of.
I think part of the problem is just like with the food, people can eat really poorly and not manifest a lifestyle in their 5th, 6th, or 7th decade. It's the same thing with personal care products. It's like if we were to put something on our skin and develop an immediate rash, we wouldn't use it. But it can take, years for the side effects to manifest.
Right. Well, look at Johnson & Johnson. They've got a lawsuit going on about talc, causing uterine cancer. So there was a huge thing about that. So, yeah, I mean, it takes time for these things to manifest themselves. but I'm seeing it in the classrooms without question. Without question.
So Colleen wants to know how you feel about organic versus inorganic. I'm assuming she means produce.
Produce or products?
Okay, let me see if I can see. That's the thing, is it goes so fast. Let me see if I can scroll back down. Colleen, good question. Well, you could talk about produce or products until I can find it.
Well, products per se, I definitely think going with USDA certified. Oh, she said produce. Produce. Well, if you're comparing, the produce, and I think Dr. McDougall talks about this a lot in some of his webinars, but he talks about how it's more important to get them to be plant-based than it is to worry about the organics at this point. Once you get to be plant-based, definitely, I pretty much just buy organic. That's all I buy. And even at that, when I bring my produce home, I wash my water in pH balanced water that it's 11.5. And even if it's organic, it's still, they use an organic pesticide on it, and it has oils on it. So those oils, you can't just wash that off. So I use pH balanced water that is 11.5, and that emulsifies the oils off of it. And you can't believe the stuff that comes off of my produce. It's incredible. So,
wow. Yeah. So how do we clean our carpets, someone wants to know, and how do we dye our hair? I mean, I think we just need to stay home, because we're gonna, if I did some of these products, I would stink and I wouldn't look. I'm just kidding, of course, but it really does require a lot more effort to know this stuff.
Absolutely. And like I said, you have to become what I call an ingredient detective, and it's to be protective and proactive for yourself. So like, going back to cleaning carpets, I know Pure Haven Essentials has a product called Master Blaster, which is amazing. And you can use it to clean spots on your carpet. We also have one to clean up for pet accidents as well, to help neutralize the odors there. But that's an amazing. And the Master Blaster can be used like a Febreze, after my husband goes into the bathroom, I usually like to get that Febreze. Oh my God. Or let's not let him know that. Or like his gym bag, sometimes he'll leave his shorts in there for a while and they'll ferment. So I'll use the Febreze. Or the dog's bed. After I wash her blankets and stuff like that, the bed still smells a little doggy. So I'll use the Febreze on that. So that's a good one, for carpets and cleaning that way. What was the other question?
Hair dye.
Hair dye. I still dye my hair. I can't, I was going to go natural and let it go gray. And it's like the guy who cuts the poof goes, yeah, no, you're going to age like 40 years overnight. I'm like,
40.
Okay, thanks. So I get one.
Just 1 second, because somebody's asking your name, and that's important. Just joining. Linda, this is Jeanne Schumacher, and you can watch this whole broadcast from the beginning as soon as we're done, and I'll also put it on YouTube. So sorry about that, but if somebody was asking before, and I can't type while I'm doing this, so I could type. I got one of these on my.
And one of the products we just came out with is called Paw Balm, and I'm loving this because for the paws, their pads sometimes get dried out or cracked, and this is an amazing paw balm. Okay. The other one we just came out with, the product is called Mom Balm, and for nursing moms, to help their nipples that get cracked or irritated or stretch marks. But my husband came on with, I came home, I went away for a couple of weeks, and I came back home, and his eczema. Now, he normally has a little patch on his leg, which we keep in check. But while I was gone, it flared up like I've never seen in our marriage. And I'm like, what have you been eating? And he's like, no, I've been good. And I'm like, yeah, your skin's telling me something different. So we've been using the Mom Balm and Nemo to help, and wrapping it with some plastic, saran wrap, just to keep it moisturized. Because, oh my God, I've never seen his legs so bad with eczema. Was there another question in there?
I have a few questions. Oh, thank you for saying Bailey is cute. So Sandy wants to know, what about she swims in chlorinated pools? Pat wants to know about Febreze. Yeah. And DJ wants to know how to dispose of our products.
There's no good answer for disposing of your products because it's going out into the environment. I mean, you're putting these toxic chemicals out there. And if you put it down the drain, it goes down the drain and it's out of sight and out of mind. And I think that's one of the, oh, that was a question about dyeing my hair. I'll get to that in a minute. But when stuff goes down the drain, like all the toxins and things, shampoo, all these chemicals that are going down the drain, and it goes back to the recycling plant. These recycling plants to take out the toxin, they're not designed to take toxins out of the water. So they're still there. I mean, they'll filter out some basic stuff and then they'll throw some chlorine on it to bleach the pool and, I mean, you know, kill whatever organisms are growing in the water. And then to get it back to your house, because tap water is the only federally regulated water that there is, period. So to get it back to our house, it has to be alkaline, or slightly right about neutral or slightly alkaline. So what they'll do is they'll add things like lye or lime to the water, which is like sodium hydroxide. That's like Drano. I mean, that's coming back, you know, to your water. That's what's coming back into your you know, your sink. So
what about swimming in chlorinated pools? And what about Febreze?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Febreze, I mean, I wouldn't be using that. Febreze is, you know, again, I think there's some, and I don't know the actual ingredients of Febreze, but, you know, I would look it up on the EWG.org. I mean, swimming in chlorine, here's the problem. I mean, when you start to look at, like, for example, going on to, this is basic high school chemistry, you go on to the periodic table and you look at the halogens, or not the halogens, the halogens. So the top is fluorine, and then it goes, you know, chlorine, bromine, iodine. The problem is we need iodine for our thyroid. So, and it's a single chemical displacement, chemical reaction. So if chlorine is in there and it's just, you know, it's called periodic trends, what's going to happen is that chlorine is going to displace iodine. So it's simple chemical, you know, it's a single displacement chemical reaction. It's high school chemistry. Wow. You know, the same thing with fluorine. New York fluoridates their water. And so fluorine is going to displace iodine. So wow. You see a lot of problems with, you know, thyroids. So
Renee has a good question. We have a lot of questions on water, and one of them is, do filtration systems clean the toxins out of the tap water?
Most of the toxins are very small molecules and particles, so the filters are just pretty basic, and they're not going to do a good job of cleaning out. It has to be very specific, and there's a company that's, I think it's in California, that has, like, I use it's called a four-stage filtration system, and what I did is I looked up on most municipal water towns, you know, they post a water analysis for their town. So I got the water analysis and I looked at the toxins. And so I made a unique filtration system based upon the issues in my town. So, yeah. So, you know, that's what I use for my, you know, filtration systems. But you have to be careful because most of the filtrations, I mean, like, you know, the basic ones that you could buy, you know, the stores, they're just filtering out basic things, and they'll use like charcoal, which will help to eliminate, like, say, chlorine that's in the water. So anyway.
So why do you think this isn't more talked about? Because honestly, until you burst my bubble, I was living in a, you know, a fool's paradise, you know?
It's out there. I mean, you can't hide it. You know, especially if you're on, I can't say enough about the EWG, you know, EWG.org, Environmental Working Group. They've got a phenomenal amount of information. And, you know, I saw somebody out there that says they distill their water. Well, when you distill water, you're taking water and you're boiling it, and you change it from a liquid to a gas, and then you condense it back to a liquid again. So it's a phenomenal amount of energy, first of all, to do that. It's not energy efficient. But when you do that, you take out all the minerals that are supposed to be in that water. And basically, it's now what I call dead water. And then that water now is very acidic, and it's also oxidizing. So anyway, so distilled water is probably not a good choice, you know.
I know I think that's what they use at True North, reverse osmosis distilled water, but they're very picky. Like Dr. Goldhammer has a certain shampoo and a certain soap, and he gets them from England, and everything is scent free. I love Marlena writes, "Just kill me, ...
I know, and it can seem like it's overwhelming, But once you start to learn about these things and you can make informed decisions, then, you know, but part of it is, and it's what I teach my students, is to be informed and become what I call ingredient detectives.
You have to be the same thing with you processed food, basically, too, you know?
Right. Exactly. And you're starting to learn about that. I mean, you know, because you could be whole food plant-based, and, you know, I know a lot of very sick and overweight vegans.
That would have been me a long time ago. So tell us again how we can get in touch with you and your challenge and your Facebook page. I know some people joined late and they can always listen again from the beginning if you like.
Yep. You can reach me on starchqueens.net. I also have a Facebook group, Plant-Based Westchester. So there we are.
That sounds great. Well, I guess I should say thank you, but
I know.
You know, I'm an Aries, you're an Aries, and it's like I feel that we didn't know. And once you know better, you have the onus to do better. And I am not going to necessarily throw out all the makeup I have right now, but every time I make it. Yeah, every time since learning this from you, if it's not like that I shopped at the 99-cent store, things like that, but ever since I learned this from you, I'm being much more diligent. I'm really reading the labels, as Sandy says, a toxic detective, and I'm looking into this. And I think, you know, knowledge is power, and I really appreciate your passion for not just putting healthy food in you, but for putting healthy ingredients on you and everywhere in your environment. So,
okay. So several people asking about what about dye for the hair. So, you know, what I use on my hair, because I've tried several of them. I'm sorry?
And Jamie wants to know, say again, your Facebook group and your hair dye, and then we'll let everyone go, because I've got another broadcast in 30 minutes.
All right. My Facebook is Plant-Based Westchester, New York. Okay, Common New York. So catch me there. Starchqueens.net. You can reach me there as well. But I use a dye called Herba Tint, Herba Tint, Tint. It comes from Italy, and European standards are very, very different than American standards.
For everything, they're much stricter.
Yeah. Absolutely. So this comes from Italy. You can buy it on Amazon, I believe it is. You can get it there. A lot of the, you know, natural stores carry it as well. But my suggestion to you is to go on EWG. They have a whole list of dyes, you know, that you can use on your hair from different rangings things. And I tried several things, you know, some of that were, you know, less toxic, but I didn't find worked as well. So it's, you know, up to you to do that. So.
Well, before I let you go, Sandy, somebody had complimented my teeth. Thank you. And Sandy said, how about bleaching teeth? So I'm guessing you're saying those white strips and the stuff. It's probably not.
I'm going to send you right to the EWG. Look those bad boys up. So.
God, why are they doing this to us? I mean, and it's wow, it's like impossible to almost live in a toxic free world. I have an idea for you, Jeanne. In your spare time, of which you have none. You know how Dr. Greger has his website, nutritionfacts.org?
Right.
You should have one like toxicfacts.org, because I think it would be great if for you to discuss these issues. You know,
well, that's what I do. I mean, I do webinars on them, and I talk about them. So yeah, no.
How do people sign up for your webinars?
I have a meetup group called meetup.com, and it's plant powered I think it's Plant Powered Westchester. And the webinars, you know, are web based, so anybody can sign up. I mean, it's exciting. So yeah, we've got local things going on, but I also do a lot of things there. I also post all my events on my website, starchqueens.net. So I mark if it's a webinar or whatnot, but
do you think maybe when the broadcast is over, you could just type this into the feed?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you guys. So, well, this has certainly been a lot of fun. Whenever I talk to you, I just feel like we're a couple of girlfriends chatting. So I hope you guys learned something. I certainly did. It's not something I necessarily wanted to know, but I feel that we need to know that. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Jeanne Schumacher, the Starch Queen from Plant-Based Westchester. And I'll see you guys here soon. All right. Take care, everybody.